All right, your other assignment, which is going to be called Homework 5, is to use Bloomberg to do two things. I am giving you Wednesday as a Bloomberg lab day to complete this part of the assignment, right? Because you're going to have to do all this in Bloomberg. You're going to need to use the terminals, not enough to go around. So again, I'm going to make Bloomberg lab day. The whole lab will be open all day to do these two parts of the assignment, okay? The first one is to create a custom formula for operating ROIC. Operating ROIC is a very important part of what we're covering this semester. Operating ROIC is not standard in Bloomberg. So you're going to have to create a custom formula in Bloomberg to do operating ROIC. One of the nice features of Bloomberg, unique to your own terminals, is you can create custom formulas. And you can use those custom formulas to build further custom formulas, so custom formulas can create other custom formulas. So to create operating ROIC in your Bloomberg account, you're going to need to create a series of custom formulas and start putting them together. Okay? Now there are two places in the terminal that you know from your certification to create custom formulas. All right? One is in the EQS screen. Two is in the RV screen. Okay? I'm going to start with the RV screen. Okay. You go to the RV screen. Custom. You start creating your custom template. Gear icon. Click on the gear icon, and there's a pop-up menu that says Add Formula. This is where you can create a custom formula. It's going to bring up a screen that looks like this. Okay? So, when you create these custom formulas, across the top, click on Formula Library. Those are all the custom formulas that I have previously created. Okay? So Bloomberg will have my custom formulas as well as their database of formulas, and you can start to mix and match. When you click on Formula Library, it'll be blank because you don't have any custom formulas. You're going to start putting them in there. You start putting them in there by going to the gear icon and adding the formula. Okay? So, in order to calculate operating ROIC, we need a NOPAT or a NOPLAT. Okay? Our definition for NOPLAT is actually different than Bloomberg's definition for NOPAT. They have a NOPAT in their database, right? I'm calling it NOPLAT because I want to differentiate the McKinsey view than the standard Bloomberg formula. So that's why it's called NOPLAT here. Okay? So you got to create this as a custom formula for NOPLAT. So how do we do NOPLAT in this? We start out with the latest FY operating income or loss. That's the Bloomberg field for operating income on the income statement. So here, function equals, what was that called? Operating income or loss. So I start typing in the function operating income or loss right there. Okay? Now, if I have a custom formula, it'll say custom formula, but these are just the standard formulas. It'll ask me which one do I want. The one that I'm asking you to build is based on the latest FY, the latest year, okay, fiscal year, right? Remember, we originally built ROIC. We didn't do it based on an annual one. We did it based on the latest filing, okay? So this is latest year. So then I click latest FY, latest filing. Oh, sorry, latest, what do I have here? Oh, FY, yeah, latest fiscal year, latest year, and then you hit enter. When you do, it's going to then start building the formula down here. Okay. Now, if you were a programmer and you knew the actual Bloomberg database field you could start building it yourself in that box. You probably don't know the Bloomberg database field. So when you put in the friendly name, it'll add it to your formula. That's where the custom formula is in the big box. So the database field for that friendly name is IS Oper Inc. Right? That's the database. And it says fund per is Y, which basically means latest year. So that's how it's going to take the latest year of operating income. Okay? Now, order of operations matters. So we're going to multiply that by 1 minus the latest effective tax rate, divided by 100. So I'm going to put here, left parentheses, times left parentheses, 1 minus the effective tax rate. Now again, I don't know the effective tax rate database field. So I'm going to come up here, effective tax rate. And again, I want this the latest year. Hit enter. That's the effective tax rate, EFF under tax underscore rate for equal Y, latest year. Okay? Now, with the order of operations, I want to take that number and I want to divide by 100 and a right paren. That is my formula. And you might say, gee, why did he divide by 100? It's because I know the format for tax rate is like 22, right? But I need 22%. So if I divide by 22, I'm not dividing by 0.22. So because Bloomberg stores it without the decimal place, I'm dividing by the 100 knowing they store it. That's why I put that in what I'm telling you to do. That's why the divide by 100 showing up there. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you do that, and then you hit return, if there's any errors, it will tell you what is wrong. And I'm trying to see where it doesn't like this. Make sure I got the right order of operations. This.
You need another parentheses before you close the parentheses.
At the end?
No, no, you're running multiplication.
Where?
You open the parentheses and you'll close it.
Oh, so here. Thank you. But that's the point. If you screw up like I just did, it won't let you create the custom formula because I didn't put enough parentheses in there. You gotta get the order of operations right. Right? So that's the point. This is my formula, and this is the amount. Now this is in for Vodafone in dollars and Hong Kong dollars for Hong Kong company. But the point is I can apply this to anything and it would give me the right data. Does that make sense? And then what I will do is once I do all that, I will then save this and I will put in a name. Okay, so this is my name for the custom field, and I'll call this no plat. Okay, so I'm going to call this no plat underscore test. Right now, the reason I'm putting test is I already have a no plat saved. I don't want to overwrite what I have in there. Okay, and so once I can also create what's called a mnemonic, which means this is where it's also named as, and then hit save, and then that custom formula. So I want to use no plat test 2. Is now saved in my database, and it takes a couple minutes, but then I can start using this formula to create the second formula. Okay, so that's the point. My next part is I create operating cash. Operating cash is latest revenue times 2%. Save that as a custom formula. Then I create another custom formula, operating working capital. I take the operating cash I just did, plus the accounts receivable, plus the inventory, plus the other current assets, minus the accounts payable, minus the other short-term liabilities. Save that, operating working capital. Okay? Then I do operating invested capital, which is operating working capital plus the long-term capital. Then once I have operating invested capital, no plat divided by invested capital, operating ROIC. So that's something you got to do. Right? Then, the bottom of the page, I'm going to show you the other part of this, which is the equity screening tool, which is very useful for the Bloomberg Trading Challenge. Okay? So you go to Bloomberg, you type in EQS. This is an extraordinarily powerful part of the software. Okay? What it does is there are 1.6 million securities in the database. You can screen and filter based on any financial criteria and narrow it down using logic. Okay? So let's say that I'm interested in the S&P 500. So my first criteria is SPX, which is the S&P 500. So 1.6 million companies got shorted down to 500. Now you might say, well, gee, it says 503 on the screen. The reason it says 503 is there's 3 dual listed stocks in the S&P 500. Alphabet, Google, is 2 shares. There's an A share, and then there's either a B or C share. It's like Google and then Gook. So there's 2 stocks that Google represents in the S&P 500. Same company, but it's 2 shares, okay? I think Meta is another one, I forgot the third. But the point is, this is the S&P 500, okay? So then I'm gonna start doing my criteria. One of my criteria, and you can see on the assignment, is I want to screen where operating ROIC is a certain amount. Okay? So I'm going to change this, but, oh, here it is. Operating ROIC has to be greater than 20%. Okay? So here's the point. I come over here and I take my custom formula for operating ROIC, which is now here, and I say condition greater than 20. So of the 503 companies in the S&P 500, 145 of them last year had an operating ROIC custom formula greater than 20%. Okay? I'm going to add my next criteria. I want my growth rate to be greater than 15%. So growth, and what I want is my year-over-year growth. So it's not there. So year. Hate this keyboard. Year. Revenue growth year over year to be greater than, I forgot what it was, 15, 20? What was that? 15? And I want it based on annual data, so not based on the latest quarter. I want it based on the latest year. Because if it's just quarter, it would be quarter over quarter, year over year. This is year over year. Okay? Now, I have to make one of the criteria. Do I want this to be an and or an or? Okay? So if I hit enter, it's going to define this as an and. Okay? So there are 145 companies that have an ROIC of 145, and 53 of them had a revenue growth rate greater than 15%. Okay? Now, if I chose the or criteria, it would say either had greater than 15% ROIC, or sorry, growth, or 20% ROIC, be a much bigger list. Okay? And then my final one is I need a bull beta. And what was that? Greater than 2? Is that what it was on the screen? Tab. Bull beta greater than 2. So that will further narrow my list from 53 companies to 13. If I click on see results, that would tell me the 13 companies. That's the screenshot you're submitting for your assignment. I'm not going to click on that. Okay? But the point is, that's part of what you also have to do on Wednesday. When you create this screener, you can save the screener, just like you saved a custom formula up here. And all your saved screeners start showing up over here. Okay? That's the one I want you to play with the custom formulas. But here's the point. I can search for anything. Right? I can search by sector. I can search for country of domicile. I can say, show me American companies, the S&P 500, that have more than 20% of their revenue coming from China. That's a criteria. And knowing the trade war that's going on between these two countries, I can say, gee, those are the ones that are most affected by the trade war. Okay? I could look at, go ahead.
How can we do that?
How could you do that?
Like, yeah, I mean, revenues by like countries and that.
That's what I'm saying. Up here, you can go to country of or territory. So you can say Asia Pacific. Where's China in here? Developed. Actually, are they in Middle East? Anyways, do it a different way. I'm going to just search for China. Remember where they are in this list. Oh, here they are. Here's China. And let me get rid of Asia Pacific and Middle East. So I now have China as a criteria. And I can add in other criteria. So for example, I can do revenue by product segment revenue. Okay? And so the point is, I can say revenue, product segment revenue greater than a certain percent, and then add China as an additional criteria. And so it says which companies have, that are in the S&P, because that was a previous criteria, have more than 20% product segment revenue in China. So like I said, you can play around with this, but I just want to let you also know it's there for your stock trading simulation. Because I know it's looking at current and past data, but this is an extraordinarily powerful tool that'll let you look up anything, okay? And so if you want to create a screen for something, this is a way to do it. And final comment I'll make is bull beta. You might be like, gee, if you haven't heard the bull beta term before, we talked about beta. Bull beta says only look at up days in the market, okay? Then do what happened to a stock on only the up days. Do a beta on just that. It's called a bull beta. The opposite's a bear beta. Only look at down days in a market. What happened to the stock purely on a down day? It's called a bear beta. Where the beta is all the days, okay? But I'm just saying, if we're in a bull market, and the market's going up, and you want to know which companies are really going to go up in a bull market, bull beta, okay? So that's just a common thing on Wall Street. But again, you can use criteria to screen. I'm just starting out with one. That's part of your homework assignment. So that's what you're going to do in class starting out Wednesday. Questions? Make sense? Okay. Great.